Welcome to the Shadow of History channel. Be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out more videos like this one. In Madras, 1877, a chilling scene unfolds under the British Raj. A desperate father stands guard over his family to protect them from cannibals. The Great Famine devastated the population, driving starving citizens to unthinkable extremes in a struggle for survival. Step into the Kremlin in Moscow, 1941. At 4:31 a.m., a secret photograph captures Joseph Stalin the exact moment he learns Germany has invaded. The editor was ordered to destroy this image of the dictator's shock, but risked his life to save history. In South Vietnam, 1968, witness a show of incredible bravery. Vo Thi Thang smiles defiantly after being sentenced to 20 years of hard labor. She mocked the judge, famously predicting his government would not last long enough to enforce her full sentence. Jump to New York in 1993. Comedian Jerry Seinfeld is photographed with his 17-year-old girlfriend, Shoshana Lonstein. The relationship sparked significant media controversy regarding the age gap, capturing a specific moment in 90s celebrity culture. Take a look at the United States in 1933. A young John F. Kennedy poses with his lifelong best friend, Lem Billings. Their enduring bond remained a constant anchor throughout Kennedy's rise to power, surviving the pressures of politics and the presidency. Observe this ironic moment in Amsterdam, 1969. John Lennon and Yoko Ono stand by as a maid changes the sheets during their bed-in for peace. The image starkly contrasts their idealistic protest with the everyday reality of the labor supporting their lifestyle. In Texas, 2015, a school project turned into a national incident. 14-year-old Ahmed Mohammed is arrested after bringing a homemade clock to school to impress his teachers. Wrongfully accused of building a bomb, his story sparked a global conversation about racial profiling and innovation. Look far above the Earth in 1957. Laika sits patiently in Sputnik 2, destined to become the first living creature in space. With no return plan engineered, her historic journey was a one-way trip, sacrificing her life for the space race. In Tokyo 2009, a diplomatic greeting makes headlines. President Barack Obama bows deeply to the Japanese emperor, sparking a fierce political debate back home. Critics called it submissive, while supporters saw a respectful gesture bridging cultural divides. Travel to Belgrade in 2011 for a heartbreaking scene. Amy Winehouse struggles through her final performance, booed by the crowd and condemned by officials. Just 1 month before her tragic death, this haunting concert signaled the end of a brilliant but troubled musical icon. In Hanoi, 1967, witnessed the resilience of a future senator. John McCain endures solitary confinement and torture as a prisoner of war. Despite severe injuries, he refused early release unless his fellow prisoners were freed first, displaying immense courage during 5 brutal years of captivity. Back in New York, 1933, the mood is tense. Thousands fill Madison Square Garden for a massive anti-Nazi rally, demanding a boycott of German goods. Years before the war began, these Americans gathered to voice their urgent opposition to Hitler's rising regime. In Washington, D.C., 2008, history walks the halls. President George W. Bush guides President-elect Barack Obama through the White House. This walk symbolized a peaceful transfer of power, bridging the gap between two very different administrations during a time of national change. Step back into the Victorian era around 1890. Gentlemen display elaborate facial hair, showcasing the peak of 19th century grooming standards. From mutton chops to handlebars, these styles were not just fashion statements, but symbols of masculinity and status in the Western world. In the jungles of Vietnam, 1968, soldiers found ways to express themselves. American troops display personal messages scrawled on their helmets. These slogans, ranging from peace symbols to dark humor, offered a glimpse into the minds of draftees trying to survive the chaos of warfare. On the streets of London in 1939, you might have seen something extraordinary. Silent film star Phyllis Gordon strolls down the street with her 4-year-old pet cheetah on a leash. This surreal sight of African wildlife amidst British high fashion captured the eccentric luxury of the era before the war. In South Korea, 1950, the situation is dire. Captain Francis Fenton stares numbly at the ground, learning his company has almost no ammunition left. Despite devastating losses and freezing cold, his men would rely on borrowed grenades and bayonets to hold the line. In Hollywood, 1926, the scale of production is immense. A striking scene unfolds in D.W. Griffith's adaptation of The Sorrows of Satan. As the third cinematic version of the best-selling novel, this production showcased the elaborate set designs and dramatic flair defining the late silent era. Travel to Berlin in 1922. The seance scene from Fritz Lang's Dr. Mabuse the Gambler mesmerizes audiences with its eerie atmosphere. This masterpiece of German expressionism used shadow and suspense to pioneer the psychological horror genre long before sound arrived. In the United States, 1900, generations collide. An aging Civil War veteran sits stoically surrounded by his young grandchildren. This portrait bridges two distinct eras, connecting the bloody history of a divided nation with the innocent future of a new century. Witness the tragedy of Amsterdam in 1944. A starving boy stares longingly through the window of an almost empty shop during the hunger winter. Captured by Emmy Andriessen, this haunting image immortalizes the desperation of Dutch citizens cut off from food supplies by Nazi occupiers. Look at Germany in 1913. Princess Victoria Louise, the Kaiser's only daughter, poses in her military hussar uniform. Her marriage briefly united warring royal houses, but she would live to see the fall of the empire and the division of her country. In the United States, 1952, a strong leader shows vulnerability. General Dwight D. Eisenhower openly weeps while addressing a gathering of veterans. The hardened military commander broke down, recalling the immense sacrifices made by his soldiers on D-Day, revealing the heavy emotional toll of leadership. In Ohio, 1970, a protest turns deadly. National Guard troops opened fire on unarmed students at Kent State University during a protest against the Cambodian campaign. 4 students were killed, shocking the nation and marking a turning point in public opposition to the Vietnam War. In Iraq, 2003, a shocking photo emerges. Private Sabrina Harmon smiles in a photograph taken inside Abu Ghraib prison. These leaked images of abuse and torture led to her court-martial, exposing a dark chapter of military conduct that sparked international outrage. In New York, 1946, giants of history mourn. Winston Churchill stands in silent contemplation beside Eleanor Roosevelt at the grave of Franklin D. Roosevelt. The two leaders paid homage to the man who helped steer the world through its darkest hour, marking the end of an era. In Miami, 1939, terror is used as a political tool. An effigy hangs from a pole as Ku Klux Klan members surround a voting center. This blatant intimidation tactic aimed to suppress black voters, highlighting the violent resistance to civil rights in the American South before the war. Look at the landscape of Washington, D.C. in 1907. A desolate stretch of swampland lies where the Lincoln Memorial stands today. Before the marble columns rose, this area was a muddy tidal flat, showing the incredible transformation of the capital's landscape in the 20th century. Across the United States in 1933, the struggle is visible. Bread lines stretch around the block as millions struggle through the Great Depression. Despite mass suffering that toppled governments abroad, the New Deal offered just enough hope and relief to prevent a violent revolution on American soil. In Arizona, 2001, tragedy strikes in the wake of terror. Balbir Singh Sodhi is shot dead while planting flowers outside his gas station just 4 days after 9/11. Targeted solely for wearing a turban, his murder became the first hate crime retaliation, claiming an innocent life in misplaced anger. In Harlem, 1940, a watch shop becomes a beacon of hope. Corrie ten Boom transforms her family business into a secret refuge for Jews fleeing Nazi persecution. For years, they saved 800 lives until a betrayal sent the family to concentration camps, leaving a legacy of courage. In London, 1991, a royal breaks protocol to change minds. Princess Diana shakes the hand of an AIDS patient without wearing gloves. This single, compassionate gesture dismantled the widespread stigma and false belief that the deadly virus could be transmitted through simple human touch. Traveled to Italy in 1954. Marcello Mastroianni and Sophia Loren posed together, capturing the golden age of Italian cinema. Their on-screen chemistry and off-screen friendship defined an era of glamour, making them one of the most iconic duos in film history. In Georgia, 1941, the reality of rural life is captured. The young son of a sharecropper stands barefoot in the red clay of Putnam County. This stark image highlights the crushing poverty and limited opportunities facing rural families in the American South before the economic boom of the war. In England, 1933, witness a unique friendship. A young boy gently holds a pet owl, displaying a timeless bond between child and animal. In an era before digital distractions, such unusual companionships were often the center of a child's world and imagination. Look closely at this rare shot from North Korea, 1984. A photograph captures the massive calcium deposit tumor on the back of Kim Il-sung's neck. State propaganda carefully hid this growth for years, forbidding photos from certain angles to maintain the leader's image of physical perfection. In India, 1916, even children joined the cause. Two young sisters sell small flags on the street to raise funds for Indian soldiers fighting in the First World War. Their effort highlights the often overlooked contribution of colonial subjects to the global British war effort. High above New York in 1947, an artist is at work. A painter carefully renders a young woman's likeness onto a massive billboard. This era of hand-painted advertising turned the skyline into a canvas, blending commercial art with the vertical rise of the metropolis. In the United States, 1970, a legend pushes his limits. Muhammad Ali reflects on the grueling pain of his training regimen. He famously declared he hated every minute of it, but refused to quit, choosing to suffer in the gym to live forever as a champion. In Chicago, 1948, a heartbreaking scene is captured on a porch. 4 children huddle on steps next to a sign reading, "Children for Sale." This shocking image exposed the desperate reality of poverty in post-war America, where destitute parents felt forced to give up their offspring. In New York, 2001, a photo shoot captures a nightmare. A fashion model looks away from the camera, eyes wide with confusion, as the first plane hits the Twin Towers. The photo captures the exact second the world changed, freezing the transition from triviality to tragedy. In Moscow, 1963, political power gathers. Fidel Castro stands alongside Nikita Khrushchev and Leonid Brezhnev atop the Lenin Mausoleum. This show of unity cemented the alliance between Cuba and the Soviet Union, signaling a deepening Cold War divide right at America's doorstep. Step back to Hollywood in 1928. Silent film star Dolores Costello poses for a portrait, radiating the elegance that earned her the title, the Goddess of the Silver Screen. As Drew Barrymore's grandmother, her legacy bridges the gap between old Hollywood and modern stardom. Behind the scenes in the United States, 1994, movie magic is made. Visual effects artists wrap blue fabric around actor Gary Sinise's legs to create the illusion of amputation for the film Forrest Gump. This groundbreaking digital trickery allowed a realistic portrayal of a disabled veteran's struggle and redemption. In Kansas, 1890, a man bears the scars of the past. Robert McGee displays the smooth, scarred scalp where he was scalped as a child. He survived the horrific attack, living for decades as a walking testament to the brutality and violence that defined the American frontier. In Texas, 1965, the law catches up with a legend. Johnny Cash is led away in handcuffs after being arrested on suspicion of drug smuggling. Though the man in black became an outlaw icon, this stark moment captures the turbulent reality behind his legendary musical persona. At Yale Law School in 1972, a future power couple shares a smile. Hillary Rodham and Bill Clinton share a candid moment together. Having met just a year prior in the library, this young couple would soon embark on a political journey that would reshape American history. In New York City, 2001, a survivor emerges from the debris. Covered in ash, Marcy Borders stands frozen after escaping the North Tower. Known as the Dust Lady, she survived the collapse, but the toxic aftermath would eventually claim her life, a lingering tragedy of that day. Inside the White House in 2012, a president mourns. Barack Obama sits alone in a classroom, rewriting his remarks for the Sandy Hook Memorial. The weight of the tragedy is visible on his face as he prepares to comfort a grieving nation. In the Canary Islands, 2022, witness a miraculous arrival. 3 men sit precariously on a ship's rudder after surviving an 11-day voyage from Nigeria. Perched just feet above the Atlantic waves, their desperate journey highlights the extreme lengths migrants go to for a chance at life. Deep in the Atlantic Ocean, 1918, step inside a killing machine. The claustrophobic control room of a German U-boat reveals a maze of valves and gauges. In these cramped steel quarters, sailors navigated blind beneath the waves, pioneering a terrifying new form of naval warfare. Across the United States in the 1960s, style was changing. A group of young women showcased the vibrant fashion of the era. With bold patterns and rising hemlines, their style reflects the cultural revolution and newfound freedom that defined a generation breaking away from tradition. At the Grammys in New York, 1998, legends arrive. Big Pun and Fat Joe step onto the red carpet, representing the golden era of hip-hop. Their larger-than-life presence and lyrical prowess brought Latino representation to the forefront of the rap industry. Look out over Dresden in 1945. The view from the town hall reveals a sea of rubble where a historic city once stood. Allied bombing raids incinerated the infrastructure, leaving a haunting landscape that symbolized the total devastation of World War II. In Vietnam during the 1960s, the toll of war is visible. A weary U.S. Marine pauses amidst the dense jungle foliage. The 1,000-yard stare in his eyes reflects the brutal reality of guerrilla warfare, where hidden dangers and humidity wore down soldiers far from home. Observe the changes in Prague between the 1910s and today. A split view of the main train station shows the passage of a century. While the architecture retains its Art Nouveau grandeur, the surroundings have transformed, bridging the gap between an imperial past and the modern era. At 30,000 feet in the 1960s, dinner was an occasion. An elaborate meal is served aboard an airliner, featuring porcelain plates and carving stations. This golden age of travel treated flying as a luxury event, a stark contrast to the pre-packaged efficiency of modern aviation. In Budapest, 1990, a giant falls. A massive statue of Stalin is dismantled and removed from the city streets. This symbolic act marked the end of Soviet influence in Hungary, as citizens reclaimed their public spaces and look toward a democratic future. In Yokohama, 1887, tradition is captured on film. Two sumo wrestlers engage in a traditional bout, seen in rare early photography. This ancient sport, deeply rooted in Shinto ritual, showcases a timeless display of strength and discipline that remains unchanged today. In Japan during the 1940s, art serves the war. An anti-British propaganda poster depicts a caricature of the enemy. During the height of the Pacific War, such imagery was used to rally nationalistic spirit and demonize the Allied forces in the eyes of the public. In Germany, 1923, money has lost its meaning. Children sit on a curb making a kite out of stacks of paper money. Hyperinflation had rendered the currency so worthless that it was cheaper to play with cash than to buy actual toys. In Germany, 1959, a star serves his country. Elvis Presley smiles alongside his father Vernon and grandmother Minnie Mae during his military service. Even the king of rock and roll paused his career to serve, bringing a touch of home to his station abroad. In the United States, 1974, a miracle happens. Young Harold Whittles reacts with wide-eyed wonder as a doctor activates his earpiece. For the first time in his life, the wall of silence breaks, and the world of sound comes flooding in. In Murmansk, 1977, the sun is artificial. Children in the Soviet Arctic circle around a glowing ultraviolet lamp. Deprived of natural sunlight during the long polar nights, this daily ritual was essential for vitamin D, illustrating life in the extreme north. On the streets of the United States in the 1930s, pride meets necessity. A well-dressed man walks the streets with a sign on his back listing his qualifications. In the depths of the Great Depression, dignity and desperation walked hand in hand as skilled workers begged for any opportunity. In New York City, 1964, look at the sheer numbers. Over 3,000 workers gather for a photo near the completed Chase Manhattan Bank. This massive human assembly highlights the sheer scale of labor required to build the skyscrapers that define the city skyline. In California, 1901, men conquer giants. The Joe Clark logging team poses with a team of horses atop a fallen sequoia. The 26-foot diameter of the log dwarfs the men and animals, serving as a testament to the colossal scale of nature. At the Oscars in Los Angeles, 1975, stars align. Jon Voight and Raquel Welch epitomize 70s Hollywood glamour at the Academy Awards. With Voight's tuxedo and Welch's shimmering gown, this snapshot captures a golden moment of cinema history under the bright lights. In the skies of the United States, 1970s, uniforms were different. A Southwest Airlines flight attendant poses in the company's signature go-go boots and hot pants. This marketing strategy defined the airline's early fun-loving image, marking a distinct and controversial era in the history of commercial aviation. On a London street in 1900, it's dinner time for pets. A street vendor known as the Cat's Meat Man slices scraps for a patient line of felines and dogs. These itinerant butchers were a common sight in Victorian neighborhoods, delivering affordable meals to the city's animals. Jump into cyberspace 1997. The Winamp interface glows on a chunky CRT monitor, ready to play the latest MP3s. With its custom skins and hypnotic milk drop visualizer, this software became the definitive soundtrack engine for the early internet generation. In the jungles of Honduras, 1885, history is uncovered. Explorers stand beside a colossal Mayan statue recently unearthed from the dense overgrowth. This discovery at the ruins of Copan shed new light on a lost civilization, revealing artistic mastery hidden for centuries by nature. In the United States, 1948, see a future president at work. A young Jimmy Carter focuses intently on his duties as a naval officer. Long before the White House, he served as a nuclear engineer, developing the discipline and intellect that would guide his leadership. Compare New York City in 1900 and 2020. A century separates the horse-drawn carriages of the Harlem River Speedway from the concrete sprawl of today. What began as an exclusive path for equestrians has transformed into a bustling artery of modern automotive transport. In Belgrade, 1915, a quiet moment amidst war. A Serbian soldier sleeps soundly beside his father, who traveled to the front lines just to see him. Amidst the chaos of the Great War, this tender moment of rest highlights the enduring bond of family. At Niagara Falls, 1901, a daredevil prepares. Annie Edson Taylor poses with the wooden barrel she used to plunge over the edge. At 62 years old, the schoolteacher became the first person to survive the fall, seeking fame and fortune in the mist. In Atlanta, 1921, the game looked different. A high school basketball player lines up a free throw on a dirt court, surrounded by spectators in suits and hats. This vintage match captures the raw early days of the sport before polished arenas took over. In Sweden, during the 1900s, personalities shine through. A couple breaks the stiff convention of Victorian photography by pulling hilarious faces for the camera. This rare candid moment reveals that a sense of humor and the joy of connection have always transcended time. In Little Rock, 1992, the press finds a new target. A horde of photographers surrounds Socks, the Clinton family cat, on a sidewalk. The absurdity of the media frenzy over a feline highlights the intense public fascination with every aspect of the incoming first family's life. In the Nevada desert, 1957, power destroys. The crumpled remains of a Navy blimp lie on the sand, crushed by a nuclear shockwave. Used as a test subject during Operation Plum Bob, the twisted metal demonstrates the terrifying, invisible power of atomic weaponry. In Georgia, during the 1950s, a legend is built. Weightlifter Paul Anderson hoists a barbell made from massive wagon wheels in his backyard. Lacking professional equipment, his makeshift training built the legendary strength that would secure him a gold medal at the 1956 Olympic Games. In the United States, 1981, charisma is effortless. Paul Newman leans back with effortless cool, embodying the rugged charm of a Hollywood legend. Whether on the screen or the racetrack, his piercing blue eyes and quiet confidence defined masculinity for decades of moviegoers. In Brussels, 1927, the world's greatest minds congregate. The attendees of the Solvay Conference pose for the most intelligent photograph in history. Featuring Einstein, Curie, and Bohr, this gathering laid the foundational debates of quantum mechanics that govern our understanding of the universe. In Chicago, 1988, a man flies. Michael Jordan defies gravity, launching himself from the free throw line during the slam dunk contest. Suspended in midair, this moment cemented his status as a global icon and changed the aesthetics of basketball forever. In Paris, 1927, a hero arrives. A massive crowd swarms the Spirit of St. Louis moments after it touches down at Le Bourget. Charles Lindbergh is pulled from the cockpit, celebrated by thousands for completing the first solo non-stop flight across the Atlantic. In the United States, 1906, patriotism starts young. A small child stands proudly covered in flags and patriotic bunting for the 4th of July. This pint-sized display captures the innocent enthusiasm and elaborate festivities typical of early 20th century Independence Day celebrations. On the waters of California, 1957, a house sets sail. The Victorian Lyford House floats across Richardson Bay on a barge. Saved from demolition, this surreal journey preserved the historic structure, moving it to a sanctuary where it remains a landmark today. In Yosemite Valley, 1900, technology meets nature. Oliver Lippincott steers his Locomobile steam car onto the valley floor, becoming the first person to drive an automobile into this natural wonder. This smoking machine signaled the beginning of a new era of tourism in the park. Over Italy in 1944, two forces collide. Allied B-25 bombers fly dangerously close to Mount Vesuvius as it erupts with fury. While war raged in the skies, nature unleashed its own devastation below, destroying villages and reminding soldiers of forces beyond their control. In the skies of the 1950s, testing is dangerous. Captain Edward Sperry is ejected downward from a B-47 bomber moving at 500 miles per hour. This harrowing test of automatic safety devices risked life and limb to ensure pilots could escape the jet age. On American roads in 1937, utility meets style. A sleek REO Speedwagon fuel tanker showcases Art Deco design on the open road. Named after Ransom E. Olds, these stylish workhorses defined an era where even industrial machinery was built with an eye for beauty. In France, during the 1960s, a master gazes back. Pablo Picasso stares intensely into the camera lens of Willie Rizzo. The legendary artist, now in his twilight years, retains the burning creative energy that shattered artistic conventions and defined modernism for the 20th century. In the United States, 1907, a woman challenges norms. The wife of a tattoo artist displays her fully inked torso, a shocking sight for the Edwardian era. Her living canvas transforms her body into a walking gallery of her husband's craft. In Hawaii, 1924, nature is oversized. A man is dwarfed by the colossal leaves of tropical plants on the island of Maui. This lush, overgrown paradise highlights the explosive fertility of the volcanic soil, creating a landscape that feels almost prehistoric. In Egypt, 1974, even the dead need papers. A valid passport is issued to the mummy of Pharaoh Ramesses II for travel to France. Even 3 millennia after his death, bureaucracy prevailed, requiring the ancient king to hold legal documentation for his preservation trip. In the United States, 2015, a medical mystery occurs. A woman accidentally ingests massive amounts of pure LSD, mistaking it for cocaine. Surviving a dose 500 times the recreational limit, she emerged with a surprising relief from chronic pain, baffling medical experts. In the United States, 1990, a new hero emerges. A child beams with pride in a homemade Super Mario costume. At the height of Nintendo mania, this simple Halloween outfit captures a moment when an Italian plumber became the most recognizable character in the world. In Hollywood during the 1960s, a star is born. Raquel Welch captivates the camera with her undeniable screen presence. Rising from a weather girl to an international sex symbol, her role in 1 million years BC cemented her image on bedroom walls everywhere. On the streets of Berlin, 1931, Enterprise survives. A young boy navigates the city streets wearing a portable lemonade dispenser. Amidst the economic instability of the Weimar Republic, this enterprising youth brings a refreshing drink to passers-by, hustling for every coin. In 19th century Nova Scotia, stature is celebrated. Anna Haining Bates, standing nearly 8 feet tall, poses beside her husband. One of the tallest women in recorded history, she found love and fame, turning her unique stature into a life of dignity. On Venice Beach, 1934, the game gets elevated. 4 women balance precariously on high stilts while playing volleyball. This playful acrobatic display captures the carefree spirit and eccentric entertainment that made the boardwalk a magnet for tourists during the Depression. In New York City during the 1980s, the view was different. Tourists peer out from the windows inside the crown of the Statue of Liberty. Before tighter security restrictions, this cramped vantage point offered visitors a dizzying, intimate look at the symbol of American freedom. In New Jersey, 1895, the future is imagined. Thomas Edison stands proudly next to his prototype electric car. Long before the modern EV revolution, the Wizard of Menlo Park envisioned a future powered by batteries, though the technology would take a century to catch up. In England, 1945, See a rock star before the fame. A toddler Keith Richards stands innocently beside his mother, Doris. Looking at this cherubic face, it is hard to imagine the rock and roll lifestyle and legendary excess that would one day define his future. In the United States, 1926, nothing is as it seems. Police officers inspect a suspicious lumber truck that smells strongly of alcohol. Under the guise of hauling wood, bootleggers devised creative ways to transport liquor, engaging in a constant cat-and-mouse game with law enforcement. In South Africa, 1954, trust is non-existent. A diamond mine worker submits to a mandatory X-ray scan at the end of his shift. This invasive security measure highlights the paranoia of the industry and the dehumanizing conditions faced by laborers in the mines. Walk through Berlin in 1945. A woman navigates the apocalyptic ruins of the capital as the Second World War reaches its violent conclusion. Surrounded by destruction, her solitary figure represents the resilience of civilians caught in the crossfire of history. In the United States, 1910, technology promises cures. An advertisement displays an elaborate electric light bath, promised to cure various ailments. This quack medical device reflects an era when electricity was a magical novelty, marketed as a miracle cure for everything. In Pskov, 1975, minds are sharpened. Students concentrate intensely during a chess lesson in a Soviet classroom. Regarded as a national sport, the game was integral to the curriculum, raising a generation to think deeply and strategically. In the United States, 1950s, fashion takes a sharp turn. A model demonstrates the silhouette of the famous bullet bra. This pointed undergarment defined the sweater girl look of the mid-century, shaping a distinct, aggressive femininity that dominated fashion and pop culture for decades. In Hollywood, 1953, icons unite. Betty Grable, Lauren Bacall, and Marilyn Monroe share a laugh on the set of How to Marry a Millionaire. This gathering of screen legends captures the glamour and star power of the golden age of cinema. In the United States, 1889, a friendship is frozen in time. A young boy in Victorian dress poses stoically with his loyal dog. Despite the stiff formality required by early photography, the bond between the child and his pet shines through the sepia tones. High in the Andes Mountains, discover a frozen secret from 1553. The body of the Lulai-Laco maiden remains perfectly preserved after 5 centuries. Sacrificed by the Inca on a high volcanic peak, her serene expression offers a haunting glimpse into ancient rituals and beliefs. In the United States, 1969, a giant arrives. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar begins a professional career that would reshape basketball history. With his unstoppable skyhook and 6 championships, he dominated the court for 2 decades, leaving a legacy as the sport's most enduring star. In the United States, 1892, art meets winter. A woman poses next to a snowman sculpted into the shape of a Victorian lady. Even in the depths of winter, the desire to create art and mimic the fashions of the day remained strong. Off the coast of Zanzibar in 1882, freedom begins. Liberated men and women sit on the deck of the English ship London. Captured by Mark Ferrez, their weary faces tell a story of survival and the first tentative moments of freedom after the horrors of captivity. In London, 1910, workwear had standards. A team of smartly dressed men poses with their gear. Unlike today's casual laborers, these window cleaners wore ties and waistcoats, bringing a touch of formal elegance to the perilous job of keeping the city's glass sparkling clean. In New York City, 1978, the party is on. Sylvester Stallone hits the dance floor at the legendary Studio 54. Amidst the flashing lights and disco beats, the Rocky star lets loose, capturing the hedonistic energy that defined the most exclusive nightclub in the world. In western Bali, 1937, a species ends. Hunters stand over the body of the last documented Bali tiger. This female's death marked the tragic extinction of a unique subspecies, silencing the roar of these island predators forever as their habitat vanished into history. In Berlin, 1975, a wall divides worlds. Concrete slabs divide a city and families as the Berlin Wall imposes its cold reality. Graffiti covers the western side in colorful defiance, while the east remains gray and guarded, symbolizing the stark divide of the Cold War. In St. Petersburg, 1924, the game comes alive. Real people stand as pawns and knights on a massive chessboard in Palace Square. Grandmasters shout moves from balconies, orchestrating this living game where citizens become pieces in a spectacular display of strategy. In Chamizal, New Mexico, 1940, find joy in simplicity. A young boy smiles while roasting sweet corn atop a hot stove. In this simple moment, the warmth of the fire and the promise of a fresh snack provide comfort amidst the hardships of rural life. In Los Angeles, 1995, a new star shines. Sandra Bullock flashes her signature smile during her breakout year. Fresh from the success of Speed, she stands on the cusp of becoming America's sweetheart and a Hollywood icon for decades to come. In Asheville, North Carolina, 1897, life is quiet. An elderly woman peels potatoes while a young girl kneels quietly beside her. This intimate domestic scene captures the silent transmission of tradition and duty between generations in the quiet corners of the late 19th century. In France, 1918, laughter is a weapon. Charlie Chaplin dons a uniform in the film Shoulder Arms. Bringing comedy to the trenches, the silent film star used humor to process the horrors of the Great War, proving that laughter could survive even the darkest times. In Chicago, 1933, a sideshow saves lives. Premature babies sleep safely in glass incubators at a fairground exhibit. While hospitals rejected these fragile infants, Dr. Cooney saved thousands by displaying them as attractions, funding the very technology that would eventually become standard medical care. In Las Vegas, 1964, sparks fly. Elvis Presley and Anne Margaret share an electric moment on the set of Viva Las Vegas. Their on-screen chemistry was undeniable, fueling rumors of a real-life romance that added heat to one of the King's most beloved musical films. In London, 1892, the mask slips. A rare smile breaks across the face of Queen Victoria as she rides in an open coach. Known for her solemn demeanor in mourning, this candid snapshot reveals the human side of the monarch, who defined an entire century. Above the United States in 1925, treats rain down. A biplane soars overhead, dropping hundreds of chocolate bars attached to tiny parachutes. The Baby Ruth Flying Circus turned marketing into a spectacle, raining candy from the sky and creating a sweet frenzy in towns across America. In New York City, 1920, witnessed the impossible. The mighty atom, standing only 5 feet tall, bites through a metal nail. Despite his small stature, Joseph Greenstein's superhuman strength allowed him to bend steel and break chains, proving that power isn't always about size. In Santa Clara, Utah, 1940, education is humble. Sunlight filters into a rural classroom where children focus intently on their lessons, with heads bent over wooden desks. This quiet moment captures the earnest dedication to learning that shaped the foundation of education in small-town America. In Los Angeles, 1978, a treasure is found. 2 boys playing in their yard stand amazed after digging up a buried Ferrari Dino. The green sports car had been hidden underground for years, sparking a bizarre mystery of insurance fraud and theft right in suburbia. In Pie Town, New Mexico, 1940, listen in. A mother and daughter listen to one of the few radios in the area. In their underground dugout home, this device was a lifeline, drawing neighbors together on cold nights to hear music and news from the outside world. In Washington, D.C., 1973, a legend watches the fall. A bald John Lennon sits silently in the audience of the Watergate hearings. Stripped of his famous locks, the former Beatle observes the political unraveling of the Nixon administration, witnessing history unfold in the Capitol. In Indianapolis, 1989, success is tangible. Stacks of cash obscure a race car as Emerson Fittipaldi poses with $1 million. This visual stunt marked the first time a driver won 7 figures, symbolizing the exploding wealth and high stakes of modern motor racing. In Lakehurst, New Jersey, 1963, size matters. A technician floats in a small balloon to inspect the massive surface of the Echo 2 satellite. Inside the hangar, the tiny human figure against the giant reflective sphere highlights the sheer scale of early space exploration engineering. In Dundee, Scotland, 1965, a man stops eating. Angus Barbieri begins a fast that would last an incredible 382 days. Surviving on tea, vitamins, and determination, he shed hundreds of pounds under medical watch, setting a record for human endurance that defies modern medical belief. In Italy, 1983, a beauty is discovered. A young Monica Bellucci poses for a local photographer before her rise to stardom. Even in this early shot, the future screen siren displays the natural elegance that would eventually make her one of the world's most recognizable faces. In Missouri, 1850, silver captures status. An unidentified woman displays her wealth through layers of heavy chains and brooches. This stunning daguerreotype captures not just her elaborate jewelry, but the stoic dignity and fashion of a bygone era preserved forever in silver and mercury. In Czechoslovakia, 1970, engineering gets creative. Workers mount a MiG-15 jet engine on a truck to blast ice off frozen railroad tracks. Using military hardware for civil maintenance, this extreme solution highlights the ingenuity required to keep trains moving through the harsh winters. First, take a look at London in 1967. This mother is pushing a psychedelic baby pram. It perfectly captures the vibrant and artistic style of the swinging 60s. On the roads of the United States, 1922, home moves with you. A custom-built wooden house sits precariously on a truck chassis. Long before modern RVs, this roving home offered travelers a way to explore the open road without leaving the comforts of their front porch behind. Inside the University of Illinois, 1910, student life looks cozy. Pennants cover the walls of a cluttered dorm room. With rocking chairs and heavy curtains, this student sanctuary looks more like a Victorian parlor than the minimalist study spaces seen on campuses today. In the United Kingdom, 1940, fitness meets necessity. Soldiers lift heavy artillery shells like dumbbells during a makeshift workout. Lacking proper gym equipment, these troops use the very tools of war to build their strength, preparing physically and mentally for the battles ahead. High above New York City in 1926, vertigo sets in. 4 men free climb the massive cables of the Brooklyn Bridge without safety harnesses. This terrifying ascent was merely a job interview, testing their nerves and balance to see if they were fit to paint the landmark. In Moscow, 1941, a trophy of war is displayed. Lieutenant Nuri Kuliev stands proudly before the twisted wreckage of a downed German fighter. Amidst the freezing snow, this victory for the Soviet air defense signaled that the invincible Luftwaffe could indeed be broken by determined resistance. On a London street in 1940, resilience is key. A shopkeeper sweeps glass from his sidewalk after a devastating air raid. With the storefront blasted open, his sign announces business as usual, displaying the indomitable British spirit that refused to bow to the terror of the Blitz. In Los Angeles, 1992, all eyes are on the field. Pamela Anderson steps onto the grass at Dodger Stadium for a charity game. At the height of her Baywatch fame, her appearance turned a friendly baseball match into a media frenzy, capturing the celebrity culture of the 90s. In the United States, 1965, hair reached new heights. A woman displays a towering beehive hairstyle sculpted with endless hairspray. This gravity-defying look defined the decade's fashion, requiring patience and maintenance to ensure not a single strand moved out of place during the day. On the Pacific Ocean, 1943, danger is constant. Flames engulf a Hellcat fighter on the deck of the USS Enterprise. As deck crews scramble to extinguish the inferno, the image captures the volatile danger of carrier warfare where a single crash could jeopardize the entire ship. Look at Detroit in 2017 compared to 1882. A modern skyline stands where horse-drawn carriages once rolled. Comparing the two eras reveals the dramatic transformation of the Motor City, from a bustling 19th century hub to an industrial titan and its subsequent reinvention. Inside a London pub in 1967, time stands still. Patrons crowd into a cozy room filled with smoke and laughter. Amidst the cultural revolution of the era, the local pub remained a timeless anchor, offering a pint and conversation away from the rapidly changing world outside. In Miami, 1983, a classic is crafted. Director Brian De Palma confers with Al Pacino on the set of Scarface. In this quiet moment between takes, the duo crafts the intense operatic violence that would turn the film into a cult classic of crime cinema. On the Western Front, 1917, misery is the norm. Soldiers crouch in the mud of a narrow trench, rifles at the ready. Captured by an official photographer, this image documents the claustrophobic nightmare of World War I, where men lived and fought in ditches for years. In Anaheim, 1959, fantasy becomes reality. Climbers scale the artificial peak of the Matterhorn bobsleds. To add realism to the new attraction, Disney hired real mountaineers to ascend the structure, blurring the line between theme park magic and genuine athletic spectacle. In Russia, 1919, strategy is planned. Soviet commanders Budyonny and Voroshilov sit with their staff during the Civil War. These men, who would later become marshals of the Soviet Union, plotted the cavalry tactics that helped secure the Bolshevik victory in a fractured nation.